Most people say they want trust in a relationship, yet many quietly create situations to test it. They withhold information, provoke jealousy, or set small traps just to see what the other person will do. Psychology explains that loyalty tests are rarely about curiosity. They are about fear, the very connection they're meant to protect. You may also recognize patterns in your own behavior that you never fully questioned. At the core of loyalty testing is insecurity about stability. Human beings are wired to seek safety in close relationships. When that safety feels uncertain, even slightly, the nervous system reacts. Uncertainty activates threat detection. The brain begins scanning for signs of potential betrayal or abandonment. Small changes in tone, timing, or attention can feel amplified. Instead of directly expressing fear, some people attempt to gather proof. They create scenarios designed to reveal whether their partner will choose them under pressure. This can look subtle. Someone may mention an attractive coworker to see if their partner reacts with jealousy. They may delay replying to messages to observe whether the other person becomes anxious. They may even ask a friend to flirt with their partner as a hidden experiment. Pause and reflect for a moment. Have you ever wanted reassurance but asked for it indirectly? That impulse is more common than most people admit. The brain prefers certainty. When emotional security feels unclear, dopamine and cortisol levels fluctuate. The unpredictability increases focus and rumination. Loyalty tests promise clarity. They feel like a way to reduce anxiety, but the relief they provide is temporary. Once a test passes, calm may return briefly, yet the underlying insecurity often remains. Soon another test appears. This cycle is rooted in attachment patterns. People who experienced inconsistent emotional support early in life may develop heightened sensitivity to relational shifts. They may expect instability even when none is present. Testing becomes a coping mechanism. Instead of trusting stability, they verify it repeatedly. Here's the surprising part. Loyalty tests often create the very instability they fear. When one partner feels monitored or manipulated, trust weakens. Emotional safety declines. The relationship shifts from collaboration to evaluation. Trust thrives in transparency. Loyalty tests thrive in secrecy. Consider how this dynamic plays out in everyday relationships. A partner might intentionally post something online to see if the other reacts, or they might fabricate a minor story to observe honesty. These behaviors are rarely malicious at the start. They are attempts to manage anxiety. However, they send an unspoken message: I do not fully trust you. Even never said aloud, that message is felt. The human brain is highly sensitive to perceived mistrust. When someone senses they are being evaluated, defensiveness increases, cortisol rises, communication becomes guarded. Now ask yourself a deeper question. What feels safer? Openly asking for reassurance or secretly testing for it? For many people, indirect testing feels less vulnerable. Directly saying, "I'm afraid of losing you," requires emotional exposure. Testing allows control without confession. Control feels powerful. Vulnerability feels risky. This is where loyalty tests connect to power dynamics. When someone creates a test, they temporarily hold control over the outcome. They know the scenario is artificial, the other person does not. That imbalance can feel stabilizing to someone who fears unpredictability. But relationships are not meant to be controlled experiments. They are built on mutual awareness. Another psychological factor involved is confirmation bias. When someone fears betrayal, they may unconsciously design tests that confirm their suspicion. Neutral responses are interpreted negatively. Minor mistakes become proof. The brain seeks coherence. If the internal belief is "people leave," it will search for evidence. Even loyalty tests that fail may reflect ambiguous behavior, but the anxious mind interprets ambiguity as danger.
Consider how often misunderstandings escalate because of hidden expectations. One partner expects immediate reassurance, The other does not realize they are being evaluated. Silence fills the gap. Assumptions multiply. There is also a social influence element. Modern culture often promotes testing loyalty as a measure of devotion. Phrases like, "if they really care, they will prove it," reinforce this mindset. Yet constant proof-seeking erodes stability. Love becomes conditional performance rather than steady presence. Here is an important distinction. Seeking reassurance is healthy. Manipulating situations to extract reassurance is not. Healthy reassurance involves direct communication. It sounds like, "I felt insecure earlier. Can you help me understand what happened?" Unhealthy testing sounds like silence followed by secret evaluation. Reflect again. When you feel uncertain in a relationship, do you ask for clarity or design a scenario to reveal it? The answer reveals your comfort with vulnerability. Vulnerability requires trust in the other person's response. Testing avoids that risk by collecting data indirectly, but it also prevents authentic intimacy. When both partners feel safe expressing fears openly, loyalty does not need to be tested. It is demonstrated through consistency. Consistency is less dramatic than a test. It is not exciting. It does not create emotional spikes, but it builds stability over time. Interestingly, some people equate emotional intensity with proof of loyalty. If someone reacts strongly, becomes jealous, or fights for attention, it may feel validating. But intensity is not the same as commitment. Calm loyalty often looks quiet. It is steady support, predictable care, and transparent communication. It does not rely on dramatic displays. Another layer of loyalty testing involves self-worth. If someone doubts their own value, they may question why another person would stay. Testing becomes a way to measure worth indirectly. If they choose me despite temptation, I must be valuable. This reasoning ties self-esteem to external behavior. However, self-worth cannot be stabilized through external proof alone. Even repeated demonstrations may not silence internal doubt. Here's a subtle emotional interrupt. Imagine a relationship where neither person ever tests the other. Instead, they voice insecurity openly and respond with patience. At first, that may sound idealistic, but it's built on emotional regulation. Emotional regulation reduces the urge to act impulsively on fear. It creates space between feeling anxious and creating a test. The more someone practices naming their fear directly, the less control-driven behavior they need. In professional environments, loyalty testing can also appear. A manager may give subtle challenges to see if an employee remains committed. A colleague may withhold information to measure reliability. These patterns stem from the same source: fear of betrayal or abandonment of shared goals. But just as in romantic relationships, trust in workplaces grows through clarity and shared expectations, not hidden trials. Ultimately, people test loyalty because they fear loss. They fear being replaced, forgotten, or deceived. The shield becomes a shield against uncertainty. Yet the shield often damages what it tries to protect. When loyalty is constantly examined, spontaneity fades, authenticity narrows. Partners begin performing instead of connecting. True loyalty is not proven under artificial pressure. It is revealed through everyday consistency. In the end, the desire to test loyalty is a signal. It signals insecurity, fear, or unresolved past experiences. Instead of acting on that signal indirectly, it can be acknowledged directly. The most powerful shift occurs when someone says, "I feel insecure right now," instead of creating a scenario to measure devotion. That moment of honesty builds more trust than any test ever could. If this perspective made you reflect on your own patterns, consider how you approach reassurance in your relationships. Share your thoughts. Continue exploring these psychological dynamics and think about how direct communication might change the way loyalty is experienced. Awareness transforms hidden tests into open trust.